mamas out there. Today we're going to continue the Homeschool Mom Struggles series, and we're going to talk about meal planning and the kitchen. I can remember clearly when I first started homeschooling, those first couple of years, trying to figure out how do I balance laundry, how do I balance the meals and the kitchen and keeping up with the house and do this homeschool thing. In fact, if we're going to be really honest, I will tell you there was a point in time where I remember feeling really embittered, thinking this is a joke. That is how hard of a time I was having, and I only had 3 children at the time. I had one I was homeschooling, I had a toddler, and then I had a baby. Fortunately, I did not give up as bad as I wanted to, and I pushed through, and I learned some of what I'll be sharing today. Before I do dive into all of that, though, I want to say something. If you are in a time, in a place, a season, like what I just mentioned, I want you to know one thing. You are not alone. Many have gone before you in this and will come after you. And so take a deep breath. Breathe in and breathe out. When those overwhelming, intense moments hit, all you need to remember to do is to breathe and breathe deeply. This is a marathon, mamas. You are trying to do something huge that most people wouldn't even dream of taking on. So breathe and give yourself some credit. One of the first things that newer homeschool mamas in those first few years fail to realize is the true magnitude of what they're taking on. And I don't just mean when it comes to homeschooling. So think about it this way. Think about a restaurant that is serving people all day long. Think about a public restroom that has people coming into it and using the restroom all day long. When you become a homeschool mom, this means you're going to be cooking much more often. You're going to be meal planning much more often. You're going to be making more food, larger quantities of food. Your home is going to become a place that is far more lived in, and it's going to become essentially a place of industry. Perhaps you do seasonal deep cleans, the spring cleaning and the fall cleaning. Maybe you already do these, maybe you don't. Either way, these are going to need to be done, and they're going to be done more than just seasonally. If you don't do these, your house is going to get pretty jammed up, and the kitchen is going to be the worst. It's going to become the worst because of how much more often it's going to be being used, and because you're not going to be the only one using it unless maybe you've got a tutor to help your children and you have more time to cook and make sure the kitchen is in the right order all the time. I'm guessing that if you're watching this, you don't have that, though. I was going to make bread, but instead I reorganized all of the cabinets and finding all my dishes that I can put away in the right places. We are a family of 8. My husband cooks, I cook. Our 2 oldest children do a little bit of cooking. The oldest, not very much. But our 3rd child enjoys cooking as well. So we've got 3 kids that are using this kitchen from time to time. And the younger children help to put dishes away. And all of the older kids, as well as my husband and I, help out with dishes. Ideally, it works best if I can take a half a day every week to go in, clean out the refrigerators, tidy up the pantries, make sure all of the items are put away in the right places, and kind of have a fresh reset. Now, this is not my idea. This actually came from Kim Brenneman, and she is the author of Home Management Plain and Simple. Kim is a homeschool mom of 9 children. This tip is so good, though, and I'm always really appalled at how well the week goes when I'm able to take the time to do this. When I'm able to do this, we have less food spoilage because I'm more aware of what we have in the fridge and what needs to be used. another advantage is it makes the meal prep days go much more smoothly too. Speaking of which, setting aside a half of a day or even a full day if I need of meal prep and baking time is amazing. That is another tip that I learned that just really helps the whole week go much more smoothly when it comes to homeschooling. You guys, it's exhausting to finish teaching a lesson only to look up and see, oh my gosh, it's lunchtime or it's dinner time and I totally forgot to plan something to eat. So then you have to do that while all the kids are hungry and you're tired. Well, that's just rough. It works so well to just once a week set aside a little bit of time to plan and prepare. Having a solid menu plan, and by the way, make a menu plan that you can reuse. I like to have a few menu plans that we can trade out. If a day comes along and something's on the menu plan that you just don't feel like having, you can always switch it out. But I feel like having a menu plan takes away that little twinge of stress that keeps me from being creative. So having that menu plan to fall back on helps me to be more creative when it comes to meals. Ideally, it's nice to have the menu planning day, the meal prep day, all done on the same day that you're going through the kitchen and the pantries and the refrigerator. So I have an autoimmune disease which slows me down considerably sometimes. Sometimes I do not have the energy to clean out the kitchen and tidy it up, which takes a couple hours usually. Clean the fridges and then meal prep on top of everything. So what I have to do is I have to split it up into 2 days usually. So once a week I'll spend an hour or two tidying up the kitchen, cleaning all the counters, washing the floors, cleaning the fridges, organizing the cabinets, and just getting everything ready. And then the next day I will go in and do some meal prep. The bottom line in all of this is just to realize that this is an area that is going to need some intentional time. And spending that intentional time making your kitchen right and planning and prepping the food is going to make that homeschool week go so much more smoothly. I like to spend this intentional time in the kitchen on school days when we've had a lighter school day, and I like to spend it in the afternoon after the school's done. I find that spending this intentional time buys me so much more leisure time during the week to spend on things that either I want to do or to do a few extra lessons. If you are worried about what is my child going to do while I'm cleaning out the kitchen and preparing some food for the week ahead, I have some suggestions. Anytime your house gets jammed up and you have to take time to put it back together or fix an area because it's just not working anymore, this is what you want to do. Make your children a checklist of activities and school subjects that they can do by themselves. This is a really good idea, and it's something you probably want to do anyways, and I'll tell you why. If you don't give your children something to do, they're going to come up with something on their own. For some kids, this is a good thing. For others, not so much a good thing. This is something that's going to vary family by family, child by child, and of course, the child's age is something that will need to be taken into consideration. So when you're making that checklist for your child, if your kid is the kind of kid that is going to come up with something really good to do on their own or to learn on their own, let them do it. If your child isn't the kind of kid that's going to do that though, and they're going to just sit around watching video games or TV or get into some kind of trouble, then you might want to give them a checklist to help them out. And once they finish their studies, you might want to invite them to help you out in the kitchen. Some kids actually enjoy helping mom in the kitchen with cooking and organizing even. This can even give you an opportunity to show them where you like to put things and explain to them why, and it might help them to remember how to keep the kitchen a little more tidy. On that note, label everything. When you've got a lot of people using your kitchen, you need labels for where everything goes. I have labels where the bread pans go, the pie pans. I have labels where the measuring spoons go, and everything in the fridge has labels. Like dairy goes on the top shelf because that's the coldest place in our fridge. The produce goes down lower, the meat goes on the very bottom, and I have labels. As this video closes, I want to leave you with one final thing that I have learned through the years that just gives me so much gratitude and regenerates my spirit. It's so simple, really. It's to remember the reasons that I chose this lifestyle. Now, this is going to seem like a silly little ritual to some people out there, but there's something that I do that helps me to remember, and it is when I wash my rings, specifically my wedding ring. I don't like to wear my wedding ring when I am cooking, especially if I'm cooking with flowers. So what I will do is I will take them off, all of my rings, I just take them all off, and I will put them in a cleaning solution. And I know that this sounds super simple and kind of silly, but as I'm washing them, I will remind myself of how it felt when my husband proposed to me all those years ago and when we started off on this journey together. I remember how this lifestyle that I was choosing looked so shiny and dreamy to me back then. Of course, every rose has its thorns, and sometimes it's easy to let the thorns and all the hard work and the hardships take the focus. It takes a lot of strength and work to redirect that focus back to what is most important, back to the beauty. But it's worth the hard work. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more. Thank you for being here, and thank you for watching. We will see you next time.